right, you little pee-pee touchers. It's a Saturday, spring hath sprung, and it's sprung all over me. It's lovely and warm. I mean, it might be 68 degrees out here for fuck's sake. Anyway, on the face tubes this week, and of course always in my mind, are your cowl sealing needs and your inability to do this correctly. So I'm here to chastise, admonish, and perhaps hector you, into knowing everything there is to know about cowl sealing. We're gonna delve into all aspects. Couple of things to know. Your Promaster here is very Italian in that once it starts leaking water, it starts leaking. My takeaway of Italian design in general is that it just kind of works, but it also kind of only works right once. And the truth is, this cowl, this trench thing is called the cowl, is when it's brand new, it works great. But anytime you have a windshield replaced, the little clips that go on the back of here get broken. Not, you know, it's just a thing. The new ones, the 22 and up vans, possibly 23 and up vans, have a completely redesigned, well, not completely, but a redesigned cowl that, as far as I know, this water intrusion problem is much less. But that's the bulk of where this is happening. Water is getting in either behind this piece or over top of it or so on and so forth, and it's gonna get on your engine and cause trouble. Well, what are those troubles? Well, let's talk. So every other Pentastar that the Pentastar engine is in has an engine cover. The Promaster doesn't, I suspect, either for thermal issues because it's pretty tight in there or just for space considerations, but it does, and it also has some evap crap going right over the top of the engine, which may have precluded from using an engine cover. Many of you face tubers have what have you done? You've taken, you know, minivan or Journey engine covers and adapted them. Perfectly fine to do. I love it when you do that. I get very excited. I become turgid and I go down a pant size. But you know, that's kind of outside the scope. The manifold has one standoff ready to accept the stock engine cover if you want to try it, but it's just that's gonna be some fabrication on your part. Okay, so what's the actual problem we're addressing here? Well, water and electronics, generally speaking, don't mix. Although water really doesn't mix with much. Well, it mixes with everything, but you understand. So the main one is the water gets in on top of the engine through this center seam, drips down here, goes onto the engine, and rusts these two upper intake bolts. Again, in an engine with an engine cover, it wouldn't be able to get there, but this has none. So it rusts those two bolts, and when some poor slob schmuck like me has to go get your intake off, and the bolts are rusted down into these little tiny nubs, he gets pissed off. So your old pal Kip, your old touchy Uncle Kip, has invented Kip's nipples. I have videos on this. I sell these. And what they do is they just block water from these two bolt wells on the upper intake manifold. That's what the nipples do. Very cheap, very fun, and fun to touch. There are other fixes, you know, you could shoot some grease down in there, whatever, but don't do that. Buy my nipples. What's wrong with you? Now, the water also will occasionally come in over here, which I'll detail in a minute, and drip directly on the engine computer and fuse box and transmission. In the news this week was a somewhat detailed face tube thread about the water can get into your transmission. Many people think it gets in through this little vent at the top of the transmission. That's not the case. It gets in through the actual shifter shaft of the transmission, and once water gets in your transmission, the glues that hold everything together in there are water soluble, and water and transmission don't mix. So there's an expensive thing for a cowl fix. There's a couple other minor things that the water will do, but one of the main ones it can do, and I've seen this 4 or 5 times, and it almost happened to me once. This upper intake hose here, this tube, the water gets here and it drips down on this tube, and as it leaves the bottom of the tube, it does a stalactite thing where it erodes and it'll tear the bottom of this tube, and then when there's a big douche of rain, water will get into this tube, go dribble down because it's finding the lowest point, in through the throttle body and into a cylinder and hydrolock the engine and shatter a rod. I've seen it happen. It almost happened to me. I caught it, figured out what had happened, and took the plugs out and spun the engine and got rid of the water that way and saved an engine. And I saved an engine on a customer's van. That guy was so happy he mailed me a muffin in thanks. So what we're going to talk about, and all these problems, all this water intrusion, all this funky nonsense that you don't want to have to deal with, comes from the leaky cowl. Well, let's figure out a fucking way to fix the fucking cowl. All right, so let's take a look at it. So this is the cowl piece, and as I say, I can feel the remnants of the glue that was on here when it was new. big vans have big windshields, find small rocks, and get big cracks. That is the nature of the beast, and that is common to all trucking and large windowed vehicles. So you're not gonna, you know, dodge them on the rocks. So when it needs a windshield, you're gonna have to address this. After you get your van back with its fancy new windshield, you'll simply use this. This is Gorilla Tape. I'm gonna do this one right now in front of you, just to show you how stupid you've been for not doing it. You can get as neat or as not neat as you want with this. This is a special Gorilla Tape that claims that it's the most water resistant one. You'll notice I've gone over the edge here. I'm going to tear here because this is a difficult spot to do. Son of a cock. I'm following this natural line on the cowl, which you'd see if you were standing here with me. You see what I've done there? We're going to go back, and you can get as neat with this as you want. And of course, I'm going to trim it up with a knife when I'm done. The important thing to know is that duct tape or other gaffer's tape or some other stuff, they're not water resistant. Regular orange Gorilla Tape or whatever this fancy Gorilla Tape is water resistant. I could show you a van that's had the same Gorilla Tape on it for the better part of a decade. Yeah, this edge of this knife will be perfect. Just to push this down like that. All I'm doing, I'm putting tape on something. Have you ever put tape on anything? It's like that. The goal, as you would imagine, is so the water can't get behind there. It can only go in front of there, and then we're going to do more with the cowl. I'm going to take my little knife. Now, was that so hard? You've been putting that off for years, you little bastards? Okay. As I go back here, I don't want to spend all day on this part of the video, but you push out the air. If you want to get fancier, if you want to make sure it's really neat, you could use a colored Gorilla Tape, or you could also use smaller pieces and make it perfect. This is for Aldo, and he just doesn't care about cosmetics.
Brought to you by Big Dukes.
That's right. Again, if you do it poorly, you know what happens? Nothing happens. Okay, so now that's sealed. This example that I'm going to show you is a particularly loose and egregious one, but it because this whole piece was loose. Normally, there's a couple things, but what you're here to do on yours, which will be in better condition, this center section, you'll find that you go out and look on your van and you'll see there's a stain right here and a puddle of water right here, because that's what it does. But we can fix that. All we're doing is running down the center, again, forcing the water to stay in the trough. Stay in your trough, which is literally that. Well, almost that. Screwed that up. I've seen you wrap Christmas presents. No amount of tape is too much. Okay. And like so. And just because I'm anally retentive, one across just to force the water to stay in the goddamn trough. Okay, what does that mean? That means it comes out here. You've seen my other video. There's a little screen you can buy. A guy makes it, sells it on Etsy. You don't necessarily need it. You'll see these fall off. This is the Cowl drain tube. Guess what it does? You speak English, you know. I want to point out a couple of other things while I'm here, and then that's pretty much it for the waterproofing. I should talk about this area. So what happens is, this is the fresh air intake for the cabin, and it will leak here, and you'll often find a little puddle of water. And that's why there's a little puddle of water here at the top, right under this corner where this stuff comes. This air intake has a drain out the back of it, so you don't got to worry about that. And this water that gets here does not seem to cause a problem that I know of. It's relatively small. If you want to do something to extra seal this, there's a rubber lip here, and then this lip comes off. You could do a lot of stuff, but this isn't really the problem, although it is what causes this. So I don't know. That I don't have a ready answer for you to do, but I imagine, you know, you're smart. Smart enough to get a driver's license, you might be able to figure this out. But I do want to show you a couple of things here. Okay. This little screw, which holds this support, which has, well, I guess it's a cowl support, but it also, I think, supports the wiper behind it. This little screw, when the cowl is loose, water will come in there. If this bracket is rusty, that's the water that's dripping right on the fuse box. When this falls off, water will often be dripping. It'll drip here, and it'll get right in on the computer, and the transmission down there, and its shifter shaft is down there as well. You don't want that. Anyway, these side sections of the cowl is just a little side section, and they terminate in a little drain. I'm trying to see if I call it the eustachian tube because I like medical terminology. Let's look on the other one and see if it's a better illustration. Much better illustration. So each of these little extension, these little wings to the far outside of the main cowl has a little drain tube in the bottom, and they go towards the wheel wells. This piece breaks and whatever. This amount of water leaking, I don't know if it's mainly the problem. If you have to pick something to do, plug it up. The water will fill enough to go over the channel and go there, or you can adapt your own tube. I've seen many people make some kind of adapter, but I've yet to find a consistent, easy to buy, easy to demonstrate problem solver that will just do that. Now, of course, this looks silly, but it is going to work. And the, you know, the more anal I get with the tape, the more likely it is to work. But if I were to do this, you'd go, oh, all right. It actually looks pretty good. And as I go through here and push out all this air, you can actually, if you play around with it enough, you can get the tape to be perfect. And if you don't like it, you can peel off the tape and do it again. It's tape. It's not welding. She ain't rocket science, as the young kids say. Plus, there's much touching. Touchy-feely shit. This is like popping zits when I was a teenager. Not like now. Alright, yeah, we got a couple folds over there. You can do this in sections if you want it to be absolutely perfect. And of course, it doesn't have to go this far up on the glass. You could just make it end there. And you see that there's a sort of a natural body line in this that I followed with the tape, but you don't have to, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do this at all. You can just keep buying engines and transmissions from me. I don't care. All right, let's wrap it up, shall we? Okay, what have we learned? We've learned that there really is no such thing as a hooker with a heart of gold. No, we've learned that with the roll of duct tape, you can prevent a lot of these problems before they happen. We've learned about the transmission shifter shaft water intake problem. We've learned about fuse box blowings up, and we've learned about the more common nut rusting, nipple, that my Kip's nipples solve, and so on and so forth. All right, I like to think that I have spread myself all over you. My essence. All right, well, we'll see you next week. I love you. Carry on. Spring hath sprung. He's a goddamn law.